Hi, everybody. I'm Olivia F. Scott, the Associate Professor of Advertising here at Loyola University, New Orleans, founder of Omerge Alliance's marketing consultancy, and best of all, host of Behind the Ad, right here where we peel the layers of the media, advertising, and marketing onion back to demystify the industry. For this episode, we will be embarking on a wonderful journey into the realm of creating new consumer platforms, a space where innovation meets strategy. And we have invited a remarkable visionary in brand architecture, business development, and storytelling and target amplification. As the founder of ventures like Flourish, One Music Fest, and more, he is renowned for merging culture and art into unforgettable experiences. Our guest today is also the author of the best selling book, The Mind of a Winner, where he delves into his journey and collects wisdom from other industry leaders. With his pioneering spirit, we have a winner in the house with us today. Steve Canal joins us as we really explore the key to creating consumer platforms. Welcome with me, if you will, the one and only, and I'm so excited he's here, Steve Canal.
Thank you so much for having me today. This is an extremely, you know, amazing opportunity, and I'm grateful. This is my year of gratitude and grace. So for you even having me here today, I'm very, very thankful.
You're always so humble. That's why I wanted him here. You guys will learn more. He's really humble and very kind, but a giant and a mogul as well. So we're going to get into that. We often create from a me-centric perspective, from a, I think this is such a cool idea, and my loved one supported me with this idea, and we go out there. But when you developed One Music Fest, did you see that there was a particular population which was being underserved or not served? And you were like, you know what? Yeah, that's happening. Yeah, that's happening. But we're going to create this to serve those people.
Yeah, it was twofold, right? There is that mindset of wanting to create something because you feel like there's a void and something missing, and you want to create that opportunity. But my time in corporate also taught me about focus groups. So a lot of times the things that we feel how it should be, you get into a focus group with 10 different people, and they're giving you different answers and different results and insights, right, that you need to
I want to pause. I don't interrupt. I want to say to the students watching this, right? Yeah. Mr. Canal is teaching right now because people think they can do things without focus groups.
Oh, yeah.
What you think and what I think and what our friends think is one thing, but if you're going to get a larger market than just our family supporting our event or our properties, we got to do focus groups. I'm sorry. Carry on.
Yeah, no, and a key element to that is diversity of thought. Right? And along my journey, that was part of the key to our success and sustaining it over time is diversity of thought. Having, different ideas in a room, right? When it's the same mindset and the same people in a room, you're going to come up with the same ideas and really not get outside of your comfort zone.
Correct.
So for me, I always, and I'll say this, I always make sure that I have a room, at least half of women that are in the room, because you all, the way you think, the way you approach life is very different from how a man thinks and feels, right? And having that diversity of thought and that perspective is important. Right, and hopefully it's on the on the reverse as well, where for women they feel it's important to get that mindset of a man as well, to bring that diversity of thought, but collectively being able to work together in that mindset helps to push mountains, right? And
No, I want you to keep. I just want to say I appreciate you for saying that because I think we are now in a world where there's this fiefdom with women and men, a lot of stuff going on like Clubhouse and all these different places, right, where men and women are, especially in the African American community, like fighting, like being independent. But I do believe that what you said is beautiful, and I'm glad that you paused to say it. That there is beauty in the coexistence and the collaboration.
Absolutely. There's nothing that we do that doesn't have a diversity and thought involved.
Okay.
And, taking a step back with that as well is being purpose-driven as well and understanding and having standards in what you're doing. Because when we did start One Music Fest, corporations were spending a lot of money in that market. They were coming in and spending dollars in that market to tap into the African American culture, right? Because that was an opportunity to impact their bottom line. Because
which market though? African American or Atlanta or both? Which one?
In Atlanta, targeting African Americans in that market
Okay.
because it's, the numbers within Atlanta, it's a high population of African Americans within that market.
Correct.
So when you have corporations that are coming to spend dollars in that market because it impacts their bottom line, right? Because historically they've had general market campaigns, meaning, it really didn't include people of color, right? So when you don't address that, that is an opportunity to impact your bottom line and make more revenue when you're introducing your products to a new audience.
Correct.
Right? So
Teaching again.
they're coming into the market and they're trying to identify those who have the voice and are thought leaders in the market to attach their trailer to their hitch to that trailer, because we have the insights, we have the data, we have the voice, and we can make impact within our culture and within our community because there's trust there.
Yes.
Right?
And heavily influential.
Heavily influential. So they're going to come in and want to spend those dollars.
Okay.
So when we came up with the concept, one, yes, it was underserved and we wanted to create a platform, but there's also an opportunity to create that platform without having to spend your own money. Right?
Oh.
And that's when you align yourself with brands, when you have the information, when you have the audience and you package it and you pay attention to what's important to them,
Yes.
what they're trying to accomplish. When you look at billboards, when you look at commercials, when you listen to radio spots, you start to understand who they're trying to speak to.
Right.
So when you have that marketer's ear within that corporation or their agency of record, and you're able to present an opportunity that they're aligned with, now they're going to spend the dollars because you're speaking in their language. You're talking about KPIs, key performance indicators, that are going to push the needle for them, things that are important to them and not just you. Because a lot of people feel, yes, I may have an audience of 10,000 people, but those 10,000 people might not like the product or the brand that you're trying to align with. So it makes no sense.
Right.
So it's going to, you're going to create a platform that's not going to resonate, right? And the brand isn't going to come back, right? They might not spend those dollars with you or somebody else within that market again because they didn't achieve their goals. So it's important for us to create something that was going to fill a void for us, but also align with a brand that was trying to speak to our audience and use their dollars to create an impactful opportunity to create, unity through music.
Absolutely brilliant. And can I pause there, right? So a lot of times creators think, I'm just going to launch this and sponsors are going to come running, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just their idea. And in their head, in their community, the idea is so amazing. But what you just shared was absolutely brilliant. I don't think I've ever heard it put that way before. Even in my years at Live Nation and wherever else I've been, the whole notion of creating, but with the sponsor in mind as you're creating.
Yeah.
Don't just build for yourself and for your audience, because I'm always about audience-centric, right? But if you want to have it underwritten and some dollars, think about what those sponsors want too. That's brilliant, which brings me to another question about sponsorship. So when you started One Music Fest, did you, for your first couple of years, have to underwrite it yourself?
So it was about 50-50. So the first year, one of the main brands that came on, we created an experience for them. It was an automotive company. So we were able to create an experience where people can test drive by getting picked up and driven to the festival.
Nice.
Right? So they got to experience the vehicle, which was a check mark for the brand, because they wanted butts and seats. They wanted people to experience the vehicle.
Right.
What better way than getting picked up and getting driven to a festival, and now you have this whole experience at the festival on top of it, right? But for us, we had a perfect amount of brand partners to put us in a position for success, where we can, manage with the talent, the venue, the space. A lot of the overhead that we had from that were, other underlying costs that we had to do, but it was enough for us to put that festival on. And we had Common, we had Guapole, we had a lot of big performers that were able to perform. And then every year from then, it's grown to this year being our biggest.
Thank you so much. And, I asked that question, want to share your information, because for years I have found, being on the side I was on, which is sponsorship marketing and sales and that type of thing, people would bring their first year ideas and say, can you get a sponsor? And I've often said, you should just expect for your first year or two that you may have to underwrite it.
Yeah.
Because there's so many creators that are creating platforms online or offline, and they're looking for brands to underwrite it.
Yeah.
So they typically want to see a proof of concept. They want to see that you actually can deliver everything you've articulated and that you can bring an audience as well.
Yeah.
So to be prepared to, but I think, again, what I've learned today, which I'm going to take forward for sure, is when you're creating, think about those brands and perhaps bring them in the loop as you're creating. For our wonderful creative audience, including myself and all of our students who think they can just come up with an idea and have it executed next week, can you share any insights into how much time you spent with the product development, maybe how much time you put into developing One Music Fest before you actually launched it, when you were collaborating with the brand that very first year, and then Flourish? Like, any sense of time? Is it 12 months? Is it 2 years? Is it 3 months?
If there's something that you're passionate about, something that you feel is purpose-driven, that you want to create, a brand, a product, a service, whatever it is, you have to understand that you have to go all in. Like, this isn't something that you can, halfway, indulge or put your time behind, because it takes going all in.
What does that mean?
What does it mean? I'm about to explain it right now.
Okay.
So, time shouldn't be a factor when you're creating something new, because it's going to be more than 10 hours. It's going to be more than 12 hours. If it's something you're truly passionate about and you truly love and you truly want to see succeed, it's an all day, every day thing.
Okay.
Right? It's phone calls, it's emails, it's strategy, right? There's revenue models. There's a lot that you need to put in, in place to make sure that, you give it the best chance for success, right?
Yep.
If you don't, I call that a hobby, right?
Correct.
It might be successful, it might not, and you might be okay with that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if this is something that I feel is going to impact my life, create a legacy, impact my family, then I should be giving it my all.
Got it.
Right?
Yes.
For something like One Music Fest, there's a lot of moving parts, right? We're a year out and we're planning on artists, and we have to forecast, and work with, industry insiders to know what albums are coming out, who's going to be out, who's dropping an album in the summer, who's going to be hot during that time, right? Because somebody may have a single now, but they may fizz away by the time it gets to the, the festival. So there's a whole matrix involved with planning that, right? And positioning that. So you have the artist element, you have location, where is it going to be?
Yep.
A particular space that can handle what you're trying to bring can be 2 years out where you can't leverage that space because they're just booked up. Right. So that's a factor, right? To the planning, the insights of what is the experience we're going to give based on the venue we have. Each venue is going to be a different experience.
Correct.
How people enter, how people engage with brands. And then you have brand partners. Brands start allocating funds a year prior.
Correct.
Right? Like September, October, November, they're starting to dove out dollars for next year.
Correct.
Right? And if you miss that boat, you might not get a brand or a big brand that has funding or dollars to spend next year. And then different brands are on fiscal, like it all depends, right?
July,
the time of the
January,
year, exactly, right? Of the impact of that. So something like Flourish, it took us a year of just research and insight just to know how many brands were out there. The insights and data that speak to how many, minority-owned brands reach success within the first few years. What are the pain points? What's missing? What do they need? Because we can approach it and say, hey, let's just put them on a platform. That might not be enough.
Okay.
Right? Being on a platform might not be enough because they need help with something else, right?
Yeah.
So it's figuring that piece out, and it's trial and error, and it's figuring out as we go, proof of concept. And then, once that comes, we have a roadmap of different deliverables we want to accomplish throughout that year. Because if you have an investor, if they give you X amount of dollars, they're expecting to 4, 5, 6, 7, 10X for a return.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're giving you $100,000, they're expecting $800,000 to $1 million in return. So you don't have time to think about this and say, hey, I'm gonna, this will be fine in 5 or 6 years, right? Whereas the One Music Fest, that's a little bit different because it's us, right?
Right.
It's on our time, and we have sponsors that we're working with. We just need to make sure that the user experience is on point, so the customer who's attending appreciates, loves that experience, and wants to tell their friends. And the sponsor says, hey, this was amazing. You hit on all the points that you said. You delivered on your promise, and we want to work with you again in the future, right? And we're checking boxes there, right? So, and if you have a product, depending on the product, if it's a food-based product, it may take years before you can get it into retail because there's so many tests that you have to go through.
Correct.
To make it FDA or you get it approved, right?
Unless you're on Instagram.
Unless you're on Instagram, right? And then, products, depending if it's cut and sew or if you're getting something that's printed, it may be coming from overseas. And that's, you have to plan a year in advance, right? Because it can take 3, 4, 5 months before you even get that collection. So I'm ordering in the winter, in the fall for summer. I'm already on summer. Mm-hmm. All the items that are for fall and winter were ordered back in May, So depending on the industry, depending on what you're working on, they all have different cycles, different timelines. But the base is you have to go all in. Whatever that timeline is, you have to be willing to put that time in and understand it's sacrifice. Your priorities need to be in place because you're going to be giving up things that you may love and enjoy for the time being.
Correct.
But at the end of the light, at the end of the road, it's worth it.
Right.
It's worth it because you put that time in, you built the foundation to get to where you need to be, which takes time. Nothing happens overnight. There's only a few that win the lottery, right?
Yes.
Everybody doesn't win the lottery. It's not just instant, right? And to your point, there's Instagram folks,
right?
But a lot of the people that you're seeing doesn't necessarily translate to success.
And sustainability.
And sustainability. There's a lot of people who have millions of followers and can't sell a T-shirt. Right? You would think their audience is engaged, but that doesn't mean their audience is connected. You have people who may have 5,000 followers and do very well because they're very engaged with their audience, and their audience responds to them.
How do you personally overcome potential creative mind blocks, and what advice can you give to others to consistently come up with fresh and innovative new ideas?
Yeah. So from the idea perspective, I'll start with this and taking a step back. When we talk about clarity, there's the 80-20 rule, where 80% of your results come from 20% of your activities, right? So you need to cut the fat. So 20% of what you do actually gives you 80% of your results.
Okay.
In life.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And it works in the inverse as well. So I cut a lot of things that just were busy work.
Like?
It was just me just doing stuff, every day, just working on projects. People call, hey, you want to work on this? Sure. Doing things just to do it, to be busy, to feel active, and as if I'm doing something. But it wasn't really giving me all the results I needed, because when I cut, majority of it, the businesses that you see me talking about, give me the 80% results. When I was, in addition to that, doing a lot of extra stuff, so I wasn't giving these businesses the attention it deserved and it needed.
Correct.
Right? So when I focused and put my energy on that 20%, one, I had more time.
Of course.
My calendar cleared up. People were like, I know you're busy because you're doing X, Y, and Z. You have all these things going on. One, I have amazing business partners, and we're very efficient. So my calendar went from meetings every hour to having 1, 2, maybe 3 at a time, opposed to 8.
Right. Efficiency is key.
In addition to doing all the busy work at home, just doing stuff just to do that wasn't giving me the results I needed. Right.
How did you decide, though, Steve? Excuse me, but how did you decide, like, this is busy work? Because I think that's, especially when you're an entrepreneur and when you're a creator, our brains operate a little differently, not as structured, not as linear. So how do you make the distinction between this is busy work and this is actually the work I need to be doing?
It's a very simple answer for me. Again, it aligns to purpose. A lot of the stuff I was doing didn't align with my purpose. I was doing it just to do it, and it didn't align with providing resources and opportunities for people to not only achieve success but sustain it over time. A lot of it was self-serving, things that influenced and helped me out. It wasn't
Right.
really impacting people's lives. And when I took a step back and looked in the mirror, and I do this exercise where I write down love and hate, put down a line down the middle. I write all the things that I love about what I do and all the things that I hate, and I see that as opportunities, right? And a lot of the things that I was doing was self-serving, so I had to eliminate that because it wasn't aligned with my purpose. And when I got aligned with my purpose, everything that I was trying to accomplish scaled and magnified.
Nice. Okay. All right. A couple more. Your team.
Yeah.
You've talked about your team. You've talked about partners. What strategies have you found most effective in nurturing an environment that fosters creativity and innovation amongst a team?
Yeah, it's staying in tune and connected. One thing that COVID exposed us to is not having to be in the office all the time, right? And being around each other all the time. But what that did was it created this connection of the human engagement, being able to interact with each other, being in the office. So we lock in on weekly meetings where it's an idea spill, right? Okay. Where everybody, yes, you may have your position and role within the organization, but everybody has an opportunity to bring ideas to the table that we talk through.
Okay.
How can we bring this to life? Does it align with our purpose and what we're trying to accomplish? One, it allows everybody to continue to bring creative ideas to the table because they feel heard, right? So whether your team is big or small, implement exercises that allow you to continually allow your mind to train. Your mind and your body is very similar.
Right.
You have to, effective CEOs read 60 books a year, right? And that's the same as going to the gym, resistance training or walking or running or treadmill, physical. Your brain needs that as well.
Right.
So, and keeping the team, having that diversity of thought, but intergenerational thinking as well. So you have, your gatekeepers and your seasoned vets. Then you have those who may have just graduated from college, right? Some who are mid-level who are in that middle journey, halfway of graduating to becoming a gatekeeper, but all of us interacting with each other. When you create hierarchy and you don't allow access for us to engage with each other, you're missing something.
Yes.
Because you're not learning because you feel you have all the answers. And what are they going to teach me? They know about how TikTok works.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
They know about AI and, chat GBT and technology. They know how to implement and bring that to the table, how it can make us more efficient. Right?
Yes.
So we have to allow for that open table for us to be able, to converse with each other, to bring ideas to the table. But not only do that, put an exercise in place so everybody's learning through that exercise. Right?
Really smart. I hadn't thought about it like that, but thank you very much for how the brain and the mind need to have that discipline.